Let's create this simple flyer in Affinity 3. I'll guide you through every step, from setting up the document and workspace to adding the background, logo, title, and images. It's a clear, beginner-friendly walkthrough designed to help you understand the process with ease. I'm already inside Affinity, and the first thing we need is our flyer canvas. Go to File and select New. I'll change the units to pixels and set the resolution to 300 dpi, which simply means 300 dots per inch for a clean, sharp result. For this flyer, I'll set both the width and height to 1,500 pixels. We won't need to adjust anything else here, so once that's done, click Create Document. We'll be working in the Pixel Studio, which is designed for editing, enhancing, and retouching images. With the latest update, Affinity now includes both the vector and pixel tools in one application, essentially giving you the power of Illustrator and Photoshop in a single workspace. After selecting the Pixel Studio, make sure to enable Pixel View mode so you can see your design exactly as it will render. On the left side of the screen, you'll find all your tools. Some of them have flyouts that reveal even more options when you click them. Don't worry about memorizing everything right now. I'll explain each tool as we use it while creating the flyer. For example, the Move tool will be used a lot since it lets us reposition elements easily. If your workspace looks different from mine, we can reset it. Just go to Window, Panel, Reset. You don't have to do this if you're already comfortable with your Affinity layout. I'm just doing it for anyone who's new and wants a clean setup. For this tutorial, we'll be working with the Color panel. Yours might look a little different because the drop-down is probably set to Wheel. I like using the Boxes view. Maybe it's just years of muscle memory from Adobe Photoshop. And within the boxes, I prefer to work in the Hue mode. We'll also be using the Layers panel, the Brushes panel, and probably the History panel as we go. We'll see what we need along the way. Alright, the first thing we need is to set the background color for our flyer. Start by choosing your foreground color here, the color you want for the background. I'll be using a purple for mine. Next, go to the Tools panel and look for the Fill tool. In its flyout, you'll find two options, the Fill tool and the Flood Fill tool. The Fill tool is great for filling shapes with solid colors or gradients, while the Flood Fill tool lets you fill an entire area or selection with a single click. Since we want to fill the whole background in one go, select the Flood Fill tool and click on the canvas. It will apply the current foreground color to the background. If you change your mind, you can still switch to another color. Just pick a new color while the Flood Fill tool is still active and click again. For this tutorial, we'll stick with the purple. Next, let's bring in our resources, images, and the logo we'll be using. If you're following along, I'll have them linked in the description. I like to just select everything at once and drag them directly onto the canvas. Now, the canvas might look a little overwhelming at first, which is why I rely heavily on the Layers panel. I'll start by hiding the character and the logo for now. For the main image, I'll make sure it sits right above the background layer. If you're working with multiple layers and assets, it's always a good idea to rename your layers so things stay organized. Just double-click the layer name and rename it, like background, background image, logo, and character. It makes working later so much easier. Right now, the background image is zoomed in, so let's zoom out. I'm using the mouse wheel while holding the Control key. To resize the image, hover over any of the corner handles, then hold Control and drag inward until you get the size you want. When you move the image into the central position, you'll notice alignment guides appear both vertically and horizontally. This helps you snap it perfectly to the center. And just a quick note, this snapping option needs to be turned on for that to work. I forgot to mention that earlier. With the background image selected, I'm going to change its blend mode to something like Screen. I think that's still what it's called in Affinity. It basically changes how the image blends with the layer below. I don't want the background image to be too sharp or distracting, So I'll lower the opacity to around 23% to make it more subtle. Once that looks good, let's lock both background layers by clicking the lock icon. This prevents us from accidentally moving or adjusting them as we continue working. Next, from the rectangle tool flyout, I'll select the rounded rectangle. I'll remove the fill and set the stroke color to white. Then I'll adjust the stroke width to 0.2 and press Enter. Now, draw the shape on the canvas. The rounded corners are a bit too strong, so we can tone them down by clicking and dragging the red corner handle outward until it looks better. Alternatively, you can simply type in a value here. Right now, mine is set to 4%. Using the Move tool, let's make sure the rounded rectangle snaps perfectly to the center of the canvas. Now, I only want this shape to show in the corners, so I'm going to remove part of it. To do that, first make sure the rounded rectangle is selected. Then click here to add a mask layer. Set the foreground color to black. This ensures the changes we make will actually affect the mask. Next, select the Paintbrush tool and set the brush width to around 800 pixels with opacity at 100%, flow at 100%, and hardness at 0. Now, using your mouse, paint over the areas you want to remove from the stroke. And just like that, we're left with only the corners visible. Now let's unhide the logo layer by clicking the eye icon. It's a bit zoomed in at the moment, so first select it. Then on the canvas, hold Ctrl and scroll your mouse wheel. Whether that's rolling in or out, just zoom out until you can see the entire logo. Just like we did with the background image, hover over any of these dotted handles, hold Ctrl, then click and drag to resize the logo and make it smaller. By the way, to zoom in and out of the canvas, I'm just holding Ctrl and scrolling the mouse wheel. If you want to move the canvas around, hold the space bar, then click and drag just like this. Let's also lock the rounded rectangle so we don't move it by mistake. Now, to center the logo, drag it toward the middle until it snaps into place, then move it up to position it around here. Now let's add the title for our flyer. Select the Artistic Text tool, click anywhere on the canvas, and type your title. Select the text, then choose your font settings. I'll be using the Lufka font, extra bold, at size 36. Next, I'll change the text color to white. To center it, just move the text toward the middle until it snaps into place, then reposition it right about here. In the Layers panel, drag the title to the top. I need about 4 copies of the title, so hold Alt, click on the text, and drag it downward to create a duplicate. Repeat the same process to make the 3rd and 4th copies. Now, adjust the opacity for each one. The second title goes down to 30%. The third to 20%. And the last one to 10%. Once that's done, I'll lock all 4 title layers, as well as the logo, so nothing moves by accident. Remember the character? Let's drag her layer to the top of the stack, then unhide it. On the canvas, I'll move her to around this position. Just adjust it until it feels right. Design is really about choosing what looks good to your eye. I'm happy with the placement right here. For anyone just starting out, I'll have the Affinity file available for free download. But definitely watch the video first so you know what's going on. And yeah, while you're at it, go ahead and smash that like button. You're clearly enjoying this. Anyway, let's get back to the flyer. Remember how we removed part of the rounded rectangle? We're going to do something similar with the character. Select her layer, then click here to add a mask. Set your foreground color to black, and select the Paintbrush tool. Keep the brush width at 800 pixels, opacity at 100%, flow at 100%, and hardness at 0. Now, Go ahead and paint over the lower part to hide it, just like this. Once again, let's lock the character layer. For the final part, we're going to add the 3 services offered. Using the Artistic Text tool, type out the first service. Select the text, and I'll use the Lufka font again, but this time with the medium style, and a font size of 9. Make sure the text is centered both horizontally and vertically. Next, under the Rectangle tool, select the Rounded Rectangle tool, and draw a shape roughly this size. Don't worry, we'll adjust it later. In the Layers panel, move the rectangle below the text. With the rectangle selected, you'll see the options for fill and stroke. Set the fill color to white, but lower the opacity to about here. For the stroke, keep it white, with a thickness of 0.2. Select the rectangle and center it on the canvas. Then, select both the rectangle and the service text, and move them together to around this position. Now we need to add another service. Select the existing service text along with its background rectangle, hold Alt, and drag to create a second copy. Next, select the first one, go to the Layers panel, and lock both the text and rectangle. Update the second service text, center it, adjust the rectangle size if needed, and center everything again. Then, select the entire second service group. Hold Alt and drag to create a third copy. Adjust the original one's position as needed, move it here, and lock those layers as well. Now update the third service text, center it, and adjust its background rectangle if needed. Select both the text and rectangle, then move them into position here. And that's basically it for this simple flyer design. This was just a basic flyer to give you an introduction to Affinity 3. For anyone downloading the template, just open it in an Affinity and unlock any layer you want to edit before changing its content. That's it for today. See you in the next one.